Morning, everybody. I've decided to try to do a video that I've been wanting to do for some time. I know that everybody that has horses has had issues with this at one time or another. We all like to have our horses to walk perfectly together, but that does not happen very often. So we are dealing always with adjusting lines on the horses and doing things to make the horses walk together. I have Brenda here today, and she is going to be filming it a good share of the time. We're going to talk about the basics of adjusting lines, but we're also going to go into a little more detail of adjusting lines that you may or may not ever use, but I've used before and they've helped me in certain situations. So anyways, today we got Lady and Bill. Lady and Bill have probably been one of the more difficult teams I've had to work with. They're a great pair of horses. They both work super great, but they don't always walk at the same gait. But so often you'll have a team that will walk, one will walk faster than the other, but they always walk faster than the other. Whereas these two, it's difficult even to explain, I guess, but they will, for a while, like going in empty into the woods, for example, Lady will hang way back and Bill is ahead of her. In the hayfields, I have to adjust the lines because Bill is always ahead of Lady. But when I hitch on to a load, a heavier load especially, it's just the opposite. Lady is just way ahead of Bill. So I'm continually adjusting things around to make that work. Sometimes it's as simple as me sliding on the seat so I'm over on the other side of Lady to put more pressure on her lines. So what I'd like to do to start with is I'm going to drive my horses around and show, I'm going to have Brenda actually sit on the cart because I want to drive beside them and show you how sliding back and forth in the cart, how that works so well. And this is to an extreme, but you can, hopefully it'll show up how well it works, because the evener, which is what they pull from, is supposed to be even. It's supposed to stay right together. I know I've seen a lot of videos with people have their horses and one's way ahead of the other. And if that's the way they want to work the horses, that's fine. But I'm convinced that it's actually a lot better to keep that even, because when it's not even, if you have a horse that's way ahead of the other one, it actually means that the one way behind is going to have to pull harder than the one that's way ahead. If you picture this or consider this, if you and your buddy have a broomstick and you go up against a log and one of them is at the end of the broomstick and one of them's in quite a ways in the broomstick, the one with that's holding the broomstick the farthest out is going to have a lot more leverage. It's going to be a lot easier for him to pull something. So that's kind of like an evener. I don't know if that's a very good example, but anyways, let us start by showing you how, by driving on one side or another, how much of a difference it makes on the evener. So Brenda, if you can just jump on the cart. Sit in the middle. Kind of point towards the evener. And to me some too. So we're going to drive way on this side, on Lady's side, and what's going to happen is it's going to put more pressure on Bill, so Lady's is going to be way ahead of Bill. So let's see how that works. Catch that. Show me how far I'm over here. Okay, now I'm going to go on the other side. Now, this is Monday morning. They didn't work Saturday or Sunday, so they've had a little time off, so I'm not sure how well it will work. But generally, going into the woods like this, lady is a slacker anyways, but by doing what I'm doing now, it's going to make it even worse. Ready? Step, step. Oh. Step, step. Okay, as you can see, I am driving way on lady's side, and because of that, careful, it's allowing lady to be ahead of Bill somewhat. I'm not sure if this is working quite as good. Now generally going in like this, lady's a slacker, and she would be way ahead, I mean way behind. Oh. Good, swap sides.
I'm gonna get off.
It's me in the evening especially. Think me for a second. Okay, now we swap sides, so I'm gonna see what happens, show you what happens. Step, step. It's hard because lady, being a Monday morning, she's feeling kind of good, so she's going to walk faster than she normally does. But normally, she would be walking so slow and him fast.
Oh. It's not easy riding on a logging cart.
Okay, now what I want to talk about is if you have a horse that walks faster than the other one, to do line adjustments. It's basically doing the same thing as I was doing when I was walking way off to one side. It puts more pressure on the horse that you want more pressure on. So if I've got all the lines, all your team lines have holes in them, and if they're made properly, they're going to be exactly the same on both sides. I have two teams of horses, so I have 4 lines, 2 sets, and I want, and they are, the same on all 4 lines, so that when we swap horses around, I can adjust accordingly. So, if lady, the further horse, if she is I want to hold her back some, I will adjust that by taking her line, which is this center line that goes to her, and I'd slide it back on here. By doing that, you put more pressure on her and less on Bill. You have to do it the same way on both sides. Of course, it's just the opposite because you actually go ahead. You would actually go ahead with the center line because that puts more pressure on her outside line, and then this one here, of course, goes to Bill, and that would put less on him. Almost all the time, Bill is the faster walker. Like when this afternoon, we've got to rake some hay, and I'll probably use these two because I might be able to explain some more things at that time. I'm sure I've forgotten most things I was going to tell you already, and so by this afternoon, maybe I can remember them and tell you some other things. But in the hayfield, he's so much faster than lady. So I will adjust that accordingly, and I have some other ways of doing that too. that I may show you today. So right now they're on the third hole from the back, or that's where I want them to be. Okay, they're actually not. I've got to adjust this one here so it's on the third hole from the back. So that puts them even. So they're both have the same pressure on the lines when I'm driving, as long as I'm driving directly behind them. If I start sliding on the seat, of course, that's going to change that and put more pressure on each horse as I slide back and forth. And I do that a lot. That's why I like these carts with a bench seat as opposed to just a center seat, because with a bench seat you can slide back and forth very easy. So that's what I do a lot, especially when I'm logging. When I'm in the hayfield, I don't want to have to do that, so I adjust the lines more to compensate the difference in their speed. So we will do some cutting, and so often with Lady, when I hitch on those heavy loads, she just tends to dive right into it, and so she puts Bill back almost because he doesn't start quite as fast. So that makes it harder for Bill. So that's why I have to know my horses and know how to deal with them, so that when I hitch on to heavy loads, I will be putting more pressure on Lady to hold her back so she doesn't start quite so fast. Okay, what am I missing? Probably a lot.
I can't think of anything right now.
At the end of the video, I am going to show you a trick that I've learned 30 years ago that has helped me tremendously when I'm dealing with these horses. A lot of my horses we do pulling with them, and just logging is pulling. You know, they have to be, their adrenaline catches up to them, and they just have a lot of drive to pull. So they got a lot of energy, so a lot of times they're hard to hold. I have shown you over the course of time these same horses doing farm work, and they do it very well. So to show you that they can do both. But when they are in the woods, it's like when I'm at a pulling contest, they have a lot of drive to dive right in there. So they're harder to hold generally. So I do have some tricks as to one trick in particular that I use quite a bit that I am going to show you at the end of this video, so watch for that. Just explain a couple things about my log job. This is on our land, and so I have struggled with this particular plantation that we have right here for many years, trying to know how to cut it. I'll maybe have some more videos about that as we go along. I won't worry about it right now. But just let you know, this is a pine plantation that we're dealing with right now. I have two pieces of equipment on here. I have a skid steer over there that I use to load logs with. I have a wagon over here that these logs will be loaded onto to take it out, because it's a fair distance out to the other landing where the log truck comes to. I also have a little John Deere excavator that I use quite a bit for excavating work. Like there's a lot of stumps here right now, but I have taken a bunch of stumps out just to make an easier landing, and it just is really handy. A lot of times I will load my logs onto the wagon also, so I use that quite a bit. So we'll go down and cut a hitch, and I will show you how we go about how the horses pull, and talk more about line adjustments at that time. Okay, here we have a log that's down there quite a ways, so we'll have to turn around back in a long ways, but we can do that. G, 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 bye, 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 G, 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 careful. Oh, oh. When I'm backing into these areas, what I'm watching a lot is their hind feet, because we're backing into trash, and I'm very cautious as to where their feet are. All right, back up. G. Bye. G a little bit. G, G, G. Bye. G, G. Bye. 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 Yep, bye. 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 G. G. Bye. 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 Yep, bye. Bye. Oh. As you see, I will almost always put a good rolling hitch on every tree I hitch onto back up here, because you never know what type of branches I've left there. Ho, 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 ho. Careful, a little bit. Oh. Lady on our left is the same horse that you might have seen my daughter cultivating the garden with, and we've done everything with her, and she can be so calm and slow and easygoing, and yet when she gets in the woods she can just go into a different gear and turn into a totally different horse. And that's good because of that. She can pull a tremendous amount of weight. And with Bill, he's a good puller too. It takes two to do it, obviously. So often I hitch onto these trees, lap you, and they are full trees. And I'll do that quite often. And she can pull, but if you'll notice, when she starts, she generally starts faster than Bill, so she's ahead of him. So I tend to stay on behind Bill. Alright, careful step. Careful. Oh. There, lady. So, just a little bit.
This is it for part 1. Join us in a couple days for part 2, and we'll talk more on line adjusting and even my little secret at the end of the video. If you have any questions on adjusting lines, put a comment down below and I might be able to get to it on the next video. Thanks for watching.